The NFL draft is just a few days away, and Ashton Jeanty is the clear-cut 101 in fantasy rookie drafts, but the rest of the first round is up in the air. We have fun with a pre-NFL draft for a mock rookie draft on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with the NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy betting, the 2025 NFL draft at sportingnews.com. It's finally here, draft week. So we just want to get these rookies on teams. But before we do that, I think we're going to do a little bit of a fun exercise here to help us see where these guys are going.
Absolutely. Before we get into our mock rookie draft, I want to let everyone know that today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay tuned for the Armada Player of the Week later in the show. So yeah, as you said, we're going to do a mock rookie draft, and we're going to do it tight end premium to really get these, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland possibly here in the first round. And then also super flex. So the quarterbacks have a little bit more value as well, because this is not the best quarterback class. I think that's also interesting to see where you would want to take these quarterbacks when you're in a league that plays where you could start multiple quarterbacks in your lineup. So let's start right off the bat. We're just going to go every other pick. We're going to go just to the first round today, picks 1 through 12. And I'm going to take the 101 because we just got to get this one over with. It's super easy. It's Ashton Jeanty. I don't think there's really any question marks here. I mean, maybe he could go to the worst landing spot ever. And, one of these other guys could go to a great landing spot. But I don't think that really matters with how just impressive Jeanty was in college at Boise State and the production that he put up. He averaged 185 rushing yards per game this past season. That was the most in the FBS by nearly 50. And just the way he did it with breaking tackles at such a higher rate than everyone else, and his explosiveness and just like how powerful he is. He's the easy guy. He's going to go top 10 most likely. I feel like the Bears would be the furthest he falls. So obviously Jeanty is going to be my 101.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You did mention the Bears. Right now, the Raiders and Bears are the favorites to land them in the draft, different spots here. Raiders picking a little bit earlier at 6. The Bears have kind of vowed not to let them slip past 10. So those look like the landing spots for now. The Cowboys are still in that mix, but either spot, he would live up to his expectations here. I would actually think the Bears are better with Ben Johnson, where Jahmyr Gibbs has thrived, and an offense with a lot of upside there. For the Raiders, he would be the guy, but either way, he gets Chip Kelly or Ben Johnson in those situations, and those are fantastic for his value going forward. Now, we don't know where this next running back is going to go, but I know he's pretty darn talented. In many other years, he would be the guy we'd be talking about a lot. It's Omarion Hampton of North Carolina. This guy is special. I think he's one of the safer picks in the draft overall, where Jeanty fits that description as well, where you plug him and play him. If you have good blocking scheme, somewhat competent offense, you're going to get the most out of Omarion Hampton. And look, we don't know exactly where it's going to go. The Broncos have been thrown out, the Steelers. It's basically that next team in line. Do the Bears get aggressive and get him at 10? If he goes, or if Jeanty goes to the Raiders at 6, that's a possibility. Do the Cowboys get aggressive with Omarion Hampton and add him to their North Carolina backfield that now has Javonte Williams? We'll see. I don't know where he's going to land, but I know he's a special talent that he can stay on the field for 3 downs, much like Jeanty. So I'm going to lock it in. Look, we know this is a tight end premium, quarterback, super flex, the leading league here. But in terms of rookies, in terms of short term, I think you have to look at Jeanty and Hampton.
Yeah, I was sad that you took Omarion Hampton here. I was hoping he landed to 3 for me and you went a different route, because Hampton he's going to be great, I think, in this league. And yeah, Jeanty's getting all of the love right now, but his production at UNC, it was elite. I mean, he put up over 1,500 rushing yards and at least 15 rushing touchdowns in each of the last 2 years. This is the list of players, of Power 5 players that had those type of seasons, 1,500 rushing yards and at least 15 rushing touchdowns in back-to-back seasons since 2000. That's as far back as my data goes, but now that's 25 years. That's Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Jonathan Taylor, Lamar Jackson, Steven Jackson, and then Travis Etienne, Kadeem Carey, and LaMichael James. So some bad names in there, but mostly really great names for fantasy on that list. And Hampton is also part of that list. And he proved that he was plenty athletic enough to be a lead back in the NFL at the combine. So I really like your Hampton pick. Now for me at number 3, again, I wanted Omarion Hampton, but instead I'm going to pivot to a different position. I'm going wide receiver. Tetairoa, McMillan. I feel like he's not getting enough love all of a sudden right before the draft, but I'm hoping he could still go top 10, but even I don't see him falling past 20, right? He's still going to be a top 20 pick. He has the size and the catch radius to be elite in this league, like a Mike Evans, like a T. Higgins, one of those guys. The only thing that's questionable is his top end speed, but I'm okay with that. We've seen guys without insane top end speed be great fantasy assets in the league. He was everything in that Arizona offense, and he also averaged 109 receiving yards per game over the last 2 seasons, the most in the FBS. Like, I think he has it all to be really good in this league, and I'm happy to take him as long as like he doesn't land in a spot. This is the tough spot about doing a mock draft before we know the landing spots, right? But as long as he doesn't land in like a Roma Dunze spot where he's having to share targets to 2 elite or above average veterans, that's when you'd get worried. But right now, McMillan, I really like him.
Yeah, it's a good spot. I mean, wherever he goes, he's going to be prioritized as a key target, and that's what you're looking for in a lot of the situation. Could he end up with the Raiders? Possibly. We've talked about the Panthers. I don't know if the Saints are going to pivot to him over a quarterback. I don't know. There's a lot of mystery there in the second half of the top 10. So McMillan definitely has a lot of places he can land. But again, we're drafting based on talent here and players we like. And talent is the number one thing you should look for with the rookies coming in the league, because that's going to get them on the field sooner rather than later. Now, we talked about this being a tight end premium league. I think I could have maybe scripted these picks going in my head who would be at number 4 and who I would take. But I'm going Tyler Ward. Now, there's been a lot of buzz about him still going to the Jets at number 7. That's not a bad landing spot. Again, you just really have Garrett Wilson there is the key target, and Breece Hall out of the backfield. So there is a path to a lot of valuable targets there with that Jets offense, with Justin Fields taking over. But wherever he lands, I think it'll be in a really good spot because, again, he's just a guy that you scheme open. Very versatile, athletic tight end, can stretch the field. Look, we've been very lucky to have these kind of guys enter the league, and recently they've really paid off. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, these best tight ends available in their class. And keep in mind, McBride was the best tight end. He just wasn't a first rounder in his class. So the guys that have been designated that haven't been all that bad. I mean, Kyle Pitts, we talked about, even had a very good rookie year before things went south with him in the wrong offense. So again, if you take a premium pick on a tight end in the real NFL draft, that means the team's looking to use that player quite a bit immediately. So Tyler Warren was the easy pick, given the caveat of our tight end premium league here in 2025.
Again, you'd be really annoying to do a draft with right at this moment because, again, I was deciding between Tyler Warren or Tetairoa McMillan at number 3, and I was like, okay, well, maybe he'll pick another wide receiver before he goes tight end. You didn't, so I guessed wrong. So I lose out on Tyler Warren. That's who I was really wanted my next pick to be. But yeah, I fully expect Warren to come into this league and like instantly have success as a fantasy tight end with what he did at Penn State, with that production he put up. It's something we have literally never seen before because he's the only tight end to play at a Power 5 school to have at least 1,000 receiving yards and 8 or more receiving touchdowns in a season since 2000. So what he did this past year was insane. He has the body, he has the skill set to be great in the NFL. So love that pick by you. Again, upset by my pick and losing out on him. But we're going to get through the rest of our first round. We have pick number 5 coming up right after a quick break.
All right, this episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? That's right. Turn on any TV and turn it into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console is required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple. It's all on your Fire TV exclusively. You can expect the latest technology, elevated playing there. You can look at smoother, more responsive gameplay, which is critical if you're in battle mode with someone else. It's endless entertainment. You already have the access to these games. Well, you get also 1.5 million movies and more TV episodes as well with Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and a lot more than that. Affordable and portable gaming is made for you. You can take it on the go, play it anywhere, and it's right there for you. The comfort of the Xbox, and really, it's great. I mean, I've got kids, and they're always looking to play games wherever we go, and this is perfect for that, and it's perfect for you too. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. That's Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. All right, Michelle, it is time to continue the show. So I sniped Tyler Warren, if we want to consider that here before we even have a real draft, but I did snipe him from Michelle. So she's got now a wide receiver on her roster with Ashton Jeanty. I've got Omarion Hampton and Tyler Warren. So what are you doing with pick 105 in this rookie draft?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Travis Hunter, and it's super, super risky, especially, not knowing his landing spot and how a team wants to use him. But I do feel like there's more teams coming out and being like, yeah, Hunter would be. Hunter wants to play both positions, right? He said he'd rather retire or rather quit than not play both positions. So that's good that hopefully he'll get time as a wide receiver. It's also going to depend on if the team needs him more at wide receiver or cornerback. So very risky, but you're talking about a guy who just won the Heisman Trophy, a guy that we know can be so good as a receiver in the NFL, despite the slimmer size, I guess, at 188 pounds, 6 foot, but he can be used all over the field. He's a great route runner. He's just a great playmaker. Like, he's a playmaker. So if he gets the opportunity on the field, he's going to be great. Third among Power 5 players in receiving yards last season and tied for first in receiving touchdowns. And he did that while playing also cornerback. Like, he was able to put up that production at wide receiver while playing like 100% of the snaps basically throughout the college season. That's just insane. So we know the talent's there. We know what he can do. The only worry is that he won't get enough time on the field. But if he goes to a team like the Browns, who say they view him more as a wide receiver, and then they also really need targets there, I think him at the 105 would be a steal.
Yeah, and I do think the Browns are the very heavy favorite right now. The odds say so. And they have mentioned that they're going to use him on offense. And really, I just broke this down and looked at it there in depth. And I looked at where do the Browns need a lot more help? They need a lot more help at wide receiver than corner. They have some pieces at corner. They do have Denzel Ward, who's a very good single coverage guy. You have Greg Newsome. Maybe he can rebound. He's been bad of late when they forced him out of position here. Martin Emerson is not all that good, but they have some bodies there that they can start, and they've been effective. Where you look at the Browns' depth chart offensively at wide receiver, this is the third most vacated targets at the position behind the Seahawks and Rams, but we know those two teams made up for all their lost guys pretty quickly, including Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams changing homes there. But this team has done nothing in free agency. You have Jerry Jeudy, then you go to Cedric Tillman is next, and then you have Michael Woods, the third or fourth or fifth, whoever it is. He's fourth or third on this depth chart. We don't really care right now that he's on this depth chart because they don't have anybody else. We know David Njoku is basically their second go-to guy with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett now as their quarterback alternative options to Deshaun Watson. So again, he needs to be played on offense. And the good thing about Jeudy, he was a slot dedicated guy more than half the time in Denver, but he came very versatile for the Browns last year. That's what allowed him to have a big delayed breakout season with Jameis Winston. We figure Joe Flacco, even though he came with Amari Cooper, you think that's going to continue. So now you need that number two. And the great thing about Travis Hunter, he can work as a big slot. He can work on the outside. He's a big playmaker at times. So I really like this by Michelle because she sniped back here. I was thinking about going, and I thought Travis Hunter might fall to me, but not such luck. But that's fair. All fair is in this mock. But Travis Hunter, again, don't sleep on his offensive role. And that's what Michelle's telling you there with that pick. Now, because we talked about quarterbacks, and look, I just wanted to add a quarterback to this conversation. They're feeling really left out. So I wanted to bring them in at pick 6 in this first round. It's Cam Ward. And the one thing we know about Cam Ward, well, two things almost. We know he's going to take every snap pretty much as a rookie if he's healthy and start right away. Number two, we pretty much think that team is going to be the Titans. So again, we have a little bit more to work with, which we don't have all that information for other teams. But you look at Cam Ward, look, he's got a great skill set. He's got an arm. He's got everyone has an arm, but a strong arm. And you look at his athleticism and can run around and make plays. He's not going to necessarily just take off and run wild, but he's going to be calculated and he's going to get some yards that way. I mean, he's a rookie, so there's going to be times when things break down and he's going to run. And look, this is not necessarily a draft that we're looking for because not every rookie, obviously, we draft is going to be for 2025. But you look at his skill set, it's very good here. If they can give him a little bit more help, they're in Tennessee beyond Calvin Ridley, some of the other weapons they have. They give them a little bit more help. They have a decent running game with Tony Pollard. They worked on their offensive line. Then you could look at Ward really having a breakout soon. So I wanted to stash him here before Michelle got to him. I figure even though she took 2 wide receivers, I'm going to come back and maybe look at a receiver later. So she'll probably continue to take receivers and make me feel bad. But I'm going with the first quarterback off the board here to think about Superflex.
Yeah, Cam Ward was definitely in consideration here if he was here because it's a Superflex league. I worry that this quarterback class is looking so much like the 2022 quarterback class. And it's just like no one ended up being worthy of a fantasy draft pick basically in there. So that's my worry. But Cam Ward is definitely the safest one out of this bunch, right? Because it seems like he's pretty much a lock for the 101. He's going to get the start. He's mobile enough to get, a couple 100 yards. And he, like you mentioned, he has the big arm to make those big plays. So I don't mind that pick, but I am going with another wide receiver to add to. I started with Ashton Jeanty, running back. Then I took Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver. Then I took Travis Hunter, wide receiver. And now Emeka Egbuka at the 107. I just love this guy so much. I don't think he's getting enough hype at all around this draft. Now, he is still expected to go in the first round in the actual NFL draft. It depends on where he lands, of course, with all of these. But I do think he offers the right skill set to just be a PPR monster like an Amon-Ra St. Brown, like that type of player where he's just really, really good at everything. He's not an elite athlete. He's not making like insane, like contested catch plays like but he's just a really, really good route runner. He knows how to separate. He's super smart. And I feel like that's why he doesn't get a lot of hype around him is because there's nothing like super intriguing about him. He's just very, very solid. He's very, very good. So I'm excited to see where he lands. And I think he can be a guy that can get 100+ receptions in any given year. So I'm going with Egbuka. I really like him for fantasy. And I think he can be great in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a lot like Jackson Smith-Njigba. He might be overshadowed by Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's the guy plugging in there, being productive for years with multiple quarterbacks and getting open. And a lot of good landing spots for him. You look at the Packers, you look at the Chargers, potentially they've been interested. The Rams could look at him. It may not be the best, but then you could have a really fun, explosive offense there in either case with him playing off Ladd McConkey or the combination of Devontae Adams and what they can do with Puka Nacua downfield. So there's some exciting things where this guy could get very favorable coverage, but either way, everyone loves this kid because of his technical route running and ability to get open. So I think ideally we'd want to see him on the Packers where he might clean up that mess and be a go-to guy for Jordan Love. Now, my next pick here, I'm going back to the running back and I'm sticking with this Ohio State theme because, again, there's going to be a lot of rookies for Ohio State that we're going to be paying attention to from their national championship team. Look, it's hard. Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I like them for different reasons. I think Judkins is a little bit more dependent on scoring. Well, I think Travion Henderson can give you a little bit as a receiver that Judkins is still working on. So I think that's the fundamental difference between these two prospects, but I love Henderson quite a bit. Now we look at the players on the board. that need a running back, right? We start with the Raiders and Bears. The Bears more desire than a need there that they want that running back. So then you put those other teams in play, right? The Cowboys, Steelers, Broncos. There's just so many teams that need a running back. So when you think about that, Trayvon Henderson has a great chance to land with one of these teams and have a key and significant role here. I think he can do a little bit more to stay on the field, where I think Judkins might need to be in a little bit of a committee situation early in his career. He's a good finisher, but Henderson, I think, is the overall back that I've liked for quite a while now. So I'm going to go with Trayvon Henderson. I'm going to take my next back here. I mean, I'm going back to back because I got Hampton there, Warren, Ward. So now I'm getting my second running back, Trayvon Henderson.
You know what? I would have personally taken the other Ohio State running back there, but in Judkins. However, I did know that you love Trayvon Henderson, so I was hoping you took him. I am just a little bit worried that maybe he'll have too much of a role where it's, mostly that receiving back role, and that kind of limits you in fantasy. I mean, it can also be a great thing if you're getting carries as well. Obviously, we know if you're getting those receptions, it could be huge. But I that's probably the first one I think maybe went a little high. But yeah. It's okay. We can have differences, and that's where it lies right there. We are going to get into the rest of our first round picks, 109 through 112, right after we hear from one of our sponsors. The Armada Player of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, we're taking a look at our draft prospects to pick one guy that stands apart, the guy we believe showcased the strength and power needed to push the fantasy football field, especially the running back class, forward as we look ahead to next season. And that player that is going to win this week's Armada and Clear Cut Player of the Week is Cam Skattebo, running back out of Arizona State. I mean, there's nothing to describe an Armada better than saying, talking about Cam Skattebo, who's so rugged and like he could do it all. And he's so strong. And I mean, no one has more confidence on the field than Cam Skattebo. There's just so many things to love about Skattebo, and there's so many things to love about the Armada. So when it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say, go forth and conquer. And that's exactly what I think Cam Skattebo can do in the NFL. It's clear that our player of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of their outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, we're finishing up our first round of our mock fantasy draft for the rookie class here before the NFL draft happens on Thursday. And we are doing tight end premium, as we said, in Superflex. So I'm going to take the other tight end that is expected to go in the first round of the NFL draft. You took Tyler Warren at the 104. At the 109, I'm going with Colston Loveland. Listen, I would have loved to take Tyler Warren. I think he was well worth the 104. But also Colston Loveland is a great prospect as well at the tight end position. And he's a great receiving prospect, which is obviously huge for us in fantasy. And honestly, where Loveland is going in the, he's projected to go in the 20s, most likely in fantasy. There's more, intriguing landing spots for Loveland, especially if he lands with the Chargers or a team like that, than maybe there is for Warren if he goes top 10. So I think Loveland is a great pick here in the second half of the first round. Maybe he takes a little bit more time to develop than Tyler Warren, who I expect to come in and be polished right away. But I do still think that Loveland can be a great top 5 tight end prospect or fantasy asset. Maybe not his rookie year, but in the near future.
Yeah, we're going to see where his landing spot happens to be. Now, if Tyler Warren goes to Jets, then you would say a good spot for him would be the Colts. I also wouldn't sleep on the Cowboys at number 12. I know it seems a little bit early, but they could trade down out of that spot and take him. Again, they do have Jake Ferguson, but they might want to shift a little bit to using 12 personnel. They need a second receiver and different things to help CeeDee Lamb, so they could go in that direction with Brian Schottenheimer. So a team's to sleep on there. And even if he goes later, where we have the Eagles maybe at 32, if he's still around by then, you have the Chiefs at 31. They could both consider him as a guy to groom behind their guys who are probably near, Lydell Scott or free year coming up. Travis Kelce might be retiring. So those would be really good ideal spots for 2026. you have some spots that would be really good for 2025. So just a talented guy. I think the blocking will come in time to keep him on the field, but he is a very special receiver in that sense. And I think Warren might be a little bit more versatile and can do more things. But in terms of fantasy, if Loveland is in the right spot, he could easily be right up there with Warren producing a tight end. So I love this pick here. If you miss out on Warren, and again, Loveland might be the better value for you in a lot of redraft leagues here in 2025 versus paying a lot up to get Warren as a tight end one. You might get better return from Colson Loveland as a high-end tight end too. So keep that in mind. Now, I need a wide receiver. I've just been shut out. Michelle keeps taking the wide receivers, so I think I got to get on it here. So I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. Look, there's multiple places I can go with this pick. There's Luther Burden III, who I really like, is kind of a slot forward guy who has some outside juice as well, especially some of the landing spots here. But then you get a little deeper. You get a Tre Harris there out of Ole Miss or Jaden Higgins. Both these guys are big targets that could be sleepers if a team cannot get McMillan in the first round. So I could think there. But Matthew Golden, there's something about this kid I like. And there's a rumor with him and the Cowboys being that field stretcher on the outside. He's done really well this pre-draft season. I mean, he's really shot past his teammate Isaiah Bond. It's not even close now, where the speed – playmaking is there, but he's a more complete receiver than he was given credit for in college. He can get open. He's a very good outside guy that would play really well off an established number one, I think, in a good slot, whether if it's CeeDee Lamb or I'm not saying it's going to happen, but a Mike Evans type of situation would be good for him if he can get into the number two spot. So I like Matthew Golden quite a bit. Now, I'm going to have to work and hope that the things will break for Golden a little bit more than your guys, but I am confident here, and I'm going with Golden because I think he has a little bit of a higher ceiling here than a Luther Burden or any of those other wide receivers.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to go very high in this draft. I'm not super high on the prospect. I think he could be fine, but I think, maybe leaning a little bit much on the athleticism. We'll see if that can actually translate in the NFL and make him a good player. But we know it does seem like he's going to go in the teens, possibly in the first round of this NFL draft, which is definitely going to boost him up these rookie rankings for sure. My pick here, my last pick of this draft in the first round, I should say, 111. I am going with a running back again. So I took 3 wide receivers in a row. I know, and I took Colson Loveland as well. I'm going with Cam Scatterbo. It seems early, I know, and it is early, but I'm reaching here. I don't care at the 111. I just think he can be excellent. I think he would be a workhorse back. We saw him get 338 touches this last year in 13 games. He was Arizona State's, they breathed and lived through him. And he was just so productive as well. Second most rushing yards and scrimmage yards in the FBS behind only Ashton Jeanty. And then he had 605 receiving yards too, most among FBS running backs with 24 touchdowns. I do think there's teams are going to miss out on Jeanty, right? Not everyone can draft Ashton Jeanty or Omarion Hampton. There's going to be many teams still looking for a running back in the second round or maybe even the top of the third round in Cleveland or Vegas there. Chicago has a couple picks in the second round. There's a lot of teams that still need a running back. I think he can land in a good spot and get a huge workload, and he has the receiving chops. So I'm fine with taking Scatterbo in the late first round.
Yeah, I do like that pick, taking a shot. I mean, I don't really know. I can't tell you who's going to be the guy that produces the most among the third running backs. It could be Scatterbo. It could be Henderson. It could be Quinshon Judkins. It could be Caleb Johnson. It just now depends on the landing spot a little bit. But Scatterbo is the type of guy that as soon as he gets on the field for his team, there's going to be some high energy. He's going to be liked a lot. They're going to see that he can do a little bit more than be a power back. He's very versatile in that sense. So they'll want to keep him on the field a lot, because it disguises what you're doing and what he can do. And now the landing spots for him, we have the Browns, who would be pretty good for him. The Steelers could also come into play. Those have been some places where it would be pretty ideal. And don't forget about the Browns as an opening as well without Nick Chubb right now. So that would be ideal for a back to land. So we kind of want all these puzzle pieces to fit where we want. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a leap of faith here with the next pick. And I think just based on his body, look, Luther Burden is a very good receiver, but I don't know if he's going to get into the point of having a big role sooner rather than later. I'm just going to be honest. I think he's going to be a good complementary receiver. This next guy has been rumored to go maybe to the Jets or Raiders. It's Tre Harris, and he's a big target. He's another guy. I do like Jaden Higgins, by the way, at Iowa State, but these type of situations, if you can get a big outside target, because what they come with the ability to score touchdowns with their size and ability to stretch the field. Now, could this end up being like a Quentin Johnston, like having some games where he had some touchdowns and really didn't do much else? Yeah, that could definitely happen. But look, it's rookie. We're already dealing with variables once you get out of the elite prospects. So when you look at Harris, I just like that offensive system. Keep in mind, we had Jackson Dart in that one. There's just a lot of Ole Miss players in this draft. They were really good last year, offensively and defensively. So I think Tre Harris is in a good system. Again, the Jets might be thinking about him, so I might end up with 2 Jets here with Warren and Harris. You might end up with the one Raider, and I might get the other if the Raiders go for Harris. So there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I think he's being coveted a lot by these teams. And maybe a reason that they might say, look, we're going to hit the pause button on McMillan early and wait for this bigger receiver that we're looking for. Because when you look at Golden and Buka and what they have in the first round and Burden, these guys are more technical type receivers made for versatility inside outside, where sometimes you just need a big guy who's going to score. And that's why I do like Tre Harris. It's a bit of a sleeper here. I think, again, his better value 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I was if we're going to do the second round tomorrow, which I think we will do, I really wanted Tre Harris there at the 201. So I was hoping you took Luther Burden instead of Tre Harris. I love that Tre Harris pick by you. He was definitely in consideration for me at the 111. So this was fun, and we're going to get into the second round tomorrow because there's still a lot of guys I want to talk about. There's still, I mean, only one quarterback went in the first round in a super flex mock draft. That's pretty crazy, but that just really shows you what we think about this draft class with quarterbacks. But I'm sure more will be listed or drafted on tomorrow's show in the second round, so we'll get to that. I want to thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. For your second listen, find the Locked On NFL mock draft available now on Locked On NFL Draft. Go inside the Locked On War Room for all 32 picks in this ultimate 7-episode series. The Locked On NFL mock draft available now on Locked On NFL Drafts YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.